How you feeling?
Great, feeling real good. So getting ready.
She's forward because then you make her look really tiny. So she needs to be more forward of you if you're gonna do that.
Okay.
Is that better? I don't know if I did anything.
Post-production, episode 2 with Jawfox, take 1. Audio syncs. All right. You can see the budget around here.
It's going well. It's going well. It's only episode 2. We're fine. Episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2. We're growing here.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Good Lord.
Hey everyone, Alexander here. Welcome back to the podcast. This week I am joined by Morgan Wellman, a creative here in the Richmond area. And if you remember from last week, I started a podcast entitled Post-Production with the intent of showcasing everything creative from creatives, creative minds, the creative process, the tools of the trade. So with that in mind, let's get started. How's it going, everyone? Alexander, jawfoxphotography.com. How's everyone doing? Back again with another weekly podcast. I'm joined, like I mentioned, by Morgan Wellman. Thank you for joining me.
Of course. I love coming and hanging out with you guys.
Morgan, I should just say, she's assisted me on many shoots, and she's a photographer herself. Mm-hmm. She's also an entrepreneur, a model. She's done a lot of creative things. And go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me all about yourself.
You got it. I do a lot. So actually, I own a business, a bath and body store out in Fredericksburg. Do the modeling, the photography. It's something I actually kind of recently got into, actually. I guess almost about this time last year, I got into the modeling, and it kind of just grew from there, as it usually does. I got connected with Jawfox and Stephanie, and it's been really great so far.
Yeah, I mean, so what was the process when you first got started? Like you said, was there a day where you're like, you know what, I'm going to model? Or was it just like...
So actually, I was with Michael King. He does blowouts in Richmond, and he was doing my hair before my friend's wedding, and then he was like, I like your hair, let's take pictures, as he does. And then I started working with him from there, and so I started with doing that with him, and then I started picking up more photographers who wanted to work with me, and then I started shooting. So it really kind of just progressed so quickly for me, and like I said, I've only been really doing this for about a year now.
What would you say was the biggest asset for you in the creative process in terms of learning modeling? Because I worked with you before on modeling shoots. We actually just did one, what was it, like 3 days ago?
Yeah, only a couple days ago.
Yeah, we were in a warehouse. It was 95 degrees. But,
super great.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. Sean at Light Tech was gracious enough to, and Darren were to lend us the venue. And we got some awesome shots, but I could just tell that was one of the bigger production shoots we've done.
Yeah.
But you had some poses down, you had some, as a photographer who's worked with a lot of models, worked with a lot of people, I was like, oh, she knows a little bit about what she's doing, yeah. So what was your process in learning or just growing from?
Practice. I felt like I was like awkward as like a stick. Like I was just like, so really just practice. Like the more you do something, the more comfortable you feel in front of the camera. Just honestly sitting in front of the mirror and just like moving your hands, seeing how you feel. Yeah, it is.
I've heard models saying, I just spend many hours in front of the mirror, just like posing, doing a couple
you don't know what looks good, like, because if you're not on the other side of the camera. So that's helped me absolutely doing the photography. So I know what poses look good. I can actually help models pose better because I know what looks better now. So I think really all of that, just the practice, sitting in front of the mirror, and then being able to be on the other side of the camera and be like, oh, actually, I know now why that looks good. And stick your chin out. If it feels weird, it looks good. So
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people that are creative by nature are scared to make that jump because they don't want to look stupid. But as I said in the first episode, I believe, looking stupid is part of it.
Absolutely.
You have to grow, and to grow, you have to make mistakes. You have to learn from those mistakes, and you have to get better by trial and error. It hurts the soul, it hurts the mind and body when you hear, oh, this isn't good, or people are laughing at you or whatever, but that's part of the experience and growing and getting better, I truly believe. But on that note, so what's some advice you would give to someone getting started, say to your own self a year ago when you were getting started in modeling? What's something you wish you'd known back then?
I think like keep going. Like it's all really about your mindset. That's how I feel at least. So if you have the growth mindset and you're always trying to do better, it's not failures if you're learning from them. It's not I see pictures, I'm like, oh, that's an awkward pose, but like, okay, now I know not to do that.
Right.
So I think just keep pushing, keep learning, use resources, talk to photographers. I follow a lot of photographers on Instagram, and that's kind of how I see different poses too.
Yeah.
So I think just keep going. No, don't stop. Keep growing, keep learning, keep pushing.
Absolutely. And if you know you love doing it and you have a passion for it, absolutely don't stop. But if you're just dabbling in it and you're not sure if it's something you like, still keep going, because you never know where it's going to take you, and then you never know where your passion is going to develop into.
Absolutely. I did not have a passion for photography. I'll be completely honest. I picked up my mom's camera and was like, oh, let me go take some pictures. And they turned out okay. And I was like, okay, well, this makes sense with the modeling. But the more I was doing it, the more I was really seeing how fun it is to create. I don't really consider myself a creative person. I like to create, but I don't really think I'm creative. So it's a little harder for me. I like you were saying with Steph last week, it's a little bit harder, but the more you do it.
The more you do it, the better you get. And I truly believe that. I think there are people, I always use a reference of fitness. There's people in the fitness world that are by nature just naturally really fit, muscular, lean, whatnot. And then there's some people that have to work for it.
Yeah.
And just the same in the creative realm. Some people are more creative than others. Some people have these like brilliant ideas that catch on really quick with others and trend. And then there's others that just really have to they're kind of like a slow blooming flower that just kind of, they slowly bloom into to their creative person or that creative personality that's inside of them. And it's just, I think there are things that you can do to enhance your creativity, such as just networking with others or watching others' creative process. And from there, ideas spawn, and you get your own unique idea, or you copy someone else's idea, but you kind of put a little bit of your own twist to it and create something altogether.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the question I wanted to ask you is, as a creative or someone who is that hybrid creative person, how important is a routine? Talk to me a little bit about routine, because the emphasis I want to stress today is self-care for creatives, self-care for everyone really. Yeah. But for creatives, I think it's really important to understand where you're at in terms of your own mental, emotional, physical, family, financial health, the 5 aspects of everything that's encompasses your health as a whole.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy for creatives to ignore what the fundamental aspect of what makes them them, what makes them creative, because in the end of the day, if they're not taking care of themselves and their own health, they're only suffering as a result, because
and then your business suffers too, because you are your business.
Exactly. So talk to me a little bit about how important a routine is to you, and 2, measures you take to implement self-care.
Yeah, so for my routine, I think I should start with what I think a routine is. So I think some people get too focused on this, or the list or whatever. But for me, routine is just, getting up in the morning, working out a little bit, getting my blood pumping, whatever that is, a cup of coffee, and just sitting down and getting in my headspace so that I can go and do whatever I need to do, whether that be the store or photography or whatever it is. So I think that's really the first step to a routine. It just kind of gets your brain on track for whatever it is you're trying to do. Like I was saying, I just have that, getting my blood pumping, getting a cup of coffee, me some caffeine. I all desperately need caffeine in my opinion. I think that really helps. So whatever that is for you, whatever your routine is, whether that be a routine with 30 steps or a routine with 2, as long as you're getting your head in the right headspace, I think that's the most important thing.
I can definitely relate and agree with that, because it's a matter of, one, just having that routine in the morning. I'm the same way. I need caffeine. Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't need it, but I want it.
You need it.
Likewise, I come in here and this is my creative space right here, where I can get away from everything, to include spouse and
children.
And
it's fine.
But I'll knock out a few push-ups and pull-ups in the morning, do a little bit of exercise, and drink my coffee, and just take a moment for me. Sometimes I won't even have my phone out here. Like I said, truly getting away from everything and just being able to focus, and that helps me to just clear my mind and focus on what I need to do for the day, and even what I need to do later that week even. But I try to, and I'm sure you're the same way, you try to just take your your days, especially nowadays with everything going on, just
Right.
one day at a time, 1 hour at a
2020.
time. Yeah. Well, yeah. So like at that point, it's just like 1 hour at a time.
Yeah,
But,
honestly.
yeah. So what are some steps you do and because your business is about self-care and it's about embracing one's needs to help them take better care of themselves and their loved ones and their community. So talk to us a little bit about self-care and what it means to you and how you implement it.
Yeah, I think I have an interesting perspective because I do, co-own this business about self-care, but we've kind of tried to make it about, people used to say, oh, treating myself, I'm really treating myself, but we really want our products to be accessible to everybody every day, taking a moment. Right now I have a coffee soap that I love, so in the morning, just like consciously taking a moment to relax and smell the coffee smell. So
that actually sounds pretty good.
It's honestly, it has coffee grounds, it's amazing. well, whatever, it's fine. But yeah, so I think really just taking a moment for yourself, I think having self-care, you have to consciously turn your brain off almost. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, especially creatives. If you don't have your own workspace set up, you're sitting in your bed working on something and your brain just can't get on it. So whether you carve out a corner of your bedroom and that's where you sit and that's where you create, that really helps. But when you're talking about self-care, it can be a bath bomb, it can be a face mask, and it often is for me, but self-care is whatever it is for you. So just whatever it is, taking a moment, maybe it's even just hanging out with your friends and hanging out with your people. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2,
nice.
Just playing video games, like whatever gives you a moment to sit and get away from work, get away from your problems, and really just take a minute with yourself. I think that's really all you need. You don't need to get all fancy with the candles and the wine and bubble bath, and I think so many people have this like idea of what self-care needs to be, but self-care is just taking a minute. It's
Or
just
like
taking a minute or two.
You don't need a $10,000 vacation once a year. You can just find some sort of zen and peace in the realm that you have.
Well, if you don't turn your brain off, you can take that $10,000 vacation and sit on the beach and still think about work.
Yeah.
So you kind of have
true.
to consciously go and say,
True.
okay, I'm going to take a minute to sit on this beach and enjoy this cocktail and hang out. Otherwise, you're just going to spend your whole $10,000 vacation upset.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can absolutely relate with the fact that in some cases the more effort you put into relaxing, it's not relaxing. So you just really have to find that ability to, even if it's just in like a spare bedroom or someplace, if you have roommates, just finding an area that you can get away to, maybe going for a walk or whatever. But absolutely, I have found working for myself has been one of the hardest jobs I've had. And I've had a number of jobs. I've worked 9 to 5. I've worked in retail. I've worked shifts that call me in at midnight. I've worked in the military. I've been overseas. And working for myself has honestly been the hardest, and maybe you can relate, but I think I've worked more hours. I've worked harder, and I didn't even realize I was working harder because I was doing something that I thought I loved doing, and I do love doing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the week, I'm like, man, I am burnt out. I'm like, what have I done? And like, I didn't even realize the week was over because I've just been focusing so much on what I love doing.
And
but
you're your business, so if you're suffering, your business suffers too. So that's something I mean, through the pandemic, I was really struggling with. We have a retail shop, so wasn't going well. I kind of ended up having to take on a lot of responsibility, and I wasn't taking the time for myself, and my health really suffered from it. So if you don't take a minute for yourself, your physical, your mental, your emotional health, I was mental, so I really had to consciously take a minute for myself. Therapy helps too, but take a minute.
I remember texting with you, and I was like talking about maybe doing a photo shoot or something. You're like, look, I've had a week because it's and you basically came out and told me you were essentially suffering from like some high stress attacks, panic attacks, that sort of thing.
Stomach ulcer, which they say is
Produced
caused by
by stress,
but it's aggravated by stress. So of course the pandemic totally helped the stomach ulcer. But I struggle with taking on too much, and when I'm not working, I'm helping out my family, I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm trying to do this, and then I sit down when I get home, and it's you're just so tired, like down to your bones, you're exhausted, and then you can't keep going. So I've gotten a lot better about recognizing burnout myself. So before I hit that exhaustion, before I hit that, I'm not getting off the couch, I'm canceling all these things. Once I'm getting tired, once I'm not sleeping very well, maybe I'm a little more irritable, I say stabby, a little stabby, people like that. So if I'm getting stabby, I know I need to take a minute for myself.
And it's hard to turn off too in this day and age where you have Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these social media platforms, you see your friends creating, you see other photographers or models or videographers or whatever creating. You're like, oh, I got to get out there and create. Like I found it hard to watch a movie because I was like trying to watch a movie with Steph, and I'm like, you know what? I could just be making a movie, and like it's not going to be as good as this, but at least I could be trying to do something. And but you know, I was just like, why don't I just relax, enjoy this movie? If I want to at least like put some sort of work aspect to it, I can look at how it was color graded or how it was like
the different
shot or
techniques.
So
that's fine. That's something I've been noticing actually since I started working with you. I was not into videography. I mean, barely into photography, and just seeing your process and how you do different things. Now I watch movies and I'm like, oh, that's how they did that, or I know how they did that. So it's really cool. But I mean, like if you don't take a minute, then you're gonna burn out.
Yeah, and that's something I'd love to stress to anyone watching this is especially if you're a creative, or maybe you're not a creative. You know, in the corporate world, they give vacations and long weekends for a reason, but in the creative world, there isn't such a thing really, especially if you're your own business or you're a struggling, starving artist. You're just always on. You're always just trying to get after it. And there's something to be said about being a hustler, but you gotta like take the time to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're just burning the engine out, and your engine's gonna fall out from under the hood, and you're gonna be stranded on the side of the road. So,
well, I actually talked to my my family a little bit about that. I don't know if I can say it, hustle porn. We kind of say the hustle porn where you know we have this culture of the boss man. I don't know. But
this studio is a judgment-free zone. I don't know if you've known everything that's happened in here.
I'm limiting the curse words at least. But yeah, I feel like we're surrounded by like the hustle porn and the boss babe. Like I feel like I kind of got sucked into that boss babe culture. Especially I was going to school full time. I was working full time running this business, trying to manage everything, and I just fell in love with the boss babe culture. And then I realized it's just either hustle, and never take a time for yourself. Yeah. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you think that you have to keep pushing and growing because you're the one doing this. But again, like you're gonna come to a standstill if you don't take a minute, or if you don't really take care of yourself at all. Because there's no one to tell you to take a break. There's no one to tell you you look like you're not doing well. You want to take vacation. You're the one who has to say that for yourself. You have to stand up for yourself.
And knowing a little bit about yourself. That's what it takes. Knowing yourself and knowing your limits, your left and right limits. And as you start to handle the workload, you get stronger a little bit over time. And over time, but you still need to take care of yourself. But with that said, what do you think is your best method for, you mentioned for some people it's different, but what's Morgan Wellman's way of relaxing?
Morgan's Wellman's way of relaxing. It really depends what I'm in the mood for, honestly. Recently, I'm a very extroverted person, but I really like hang out with my people. So I honestly hang out with my best friend and just watching TV or going on a walk, just something to really turn my mind off a little bit. Being around the people I love their energy, my family, my friends. So that's honestly part of my self-care. If I'm at home, just kind of sitting on the couch and cuddling my cats and listening to their purs, just the little things.
How many cats do you have?
I have 2 cats.
Oh, very
so
nice.
which it's just enough where you're not a crazy cat lady. I'm just crazy.
Oh, okay.
I'm a crazy person who has cats.
Well, what are the cats' names? I'll tell you if you're crazy or
Abby
not.
and Sasha.
Okay, so you give them real persons' names, not like, okay. So.
Yeah, but they're a little fat, and I think when they're fat, you kind of become a crazy cat lady a little bit. So it's fine. Whatever, it's fine. They're healthy.
I kind of wish we could have cats, but Steph's allergic, so.
I am too.
Oh, do you take medicine for it?
I do.
Oh.
I didn't know until after I got them.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, this has been a really insightful episode, and thank you for being part of it. And it's something I've wanted to talk about because I know it's something I've struggled with, and I know in talking with you and working with you, it's something that you struggled with. So, and being that your business was focused around self-care and that you were pushing yourself, even with the fact that your business was centered around self-care to the point of near exhaustion, just goes to show that nobody's invincible, everyone's vulnerable, and taking time for yourself is paramount. Thank you so much for being part of this episode and this podcast. And so we're going to wrap it up there. But if you're interested in being a guest on this show, talking your message, talking your story, sharing your creative process, feel free to hit me up with a DM, shoot me an email. If you're interested in booking a shoot, photo or video, hit me up as well. Check Morgan out on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
m.v.wellman, also Morganite Photography, or is it Morganite.photography? One of those. And then also the store is Sugar and Spruce. We're based out of Fredericksburg, but we do have an online store. So if you need soap, you need bath bombs, you know who to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we actually got one from you at one point.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to bring you guys some stuff.
Thanks to Steph, Airborne Unicorn, for producing this segment. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Take care. All right, so Morgan, for being the first real guest other than
you.
Steph,
She counts. She counts.
we got something for you here. It's the first, there we go, Jawfox t-shirts coming in.
Love it. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. I'm going to put it on right now.
I owe a few other t-shirts to some people. They're coming soon. Also, the Gold Book chair project is underway. It'll be out very shortly. Thank you for everyone who participated in that. So stay tuned for those projects coming up soon.